Hello, everyone, and a very good morning. Am I audible? Test. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, awesome. Welcome, everyone, to this session on artificial intelligence and how it can bring value to your startup and your career. So these are the topics that we're going to be covering today. We're going to be talking about what is artificial intelligence, what is it made up of, what are its core components, what are the different types of models that are there. Next, how can AI bring value to a startup? What and in what ways can it help, whether it be the customer experience within the workflow of the business itself, or what sort of new dimensions of new ideas or new features or new values that it can bring, and how can it bring that? Next, we're going to be talking about some applications of applied artificial intelligence in different sectors, because technology is a tool and it applies in a certain sector to add its value. So technology has its majority of its value churned when it connects to another industry and it makes life easier for us within or when with in conjunction to that application. Next, we're going to be talking about how do these AI models add value to any particular industry? Like, what are the main verticals where they integrate and where they bring their value? We're going to be talking about types of AI. We're going to be talking about concepts, different ways we can label AI models, certain terminology that is commonly around artificial intelligence models, the technologies behind artificial intelligence, with the frameworks, the different libraries we use, and how do we build and deploy AI models, a few case studies, and then pursuing AI as a career field. So hi, my name is Aryan Singh. I'm the Chief Technology Officer and Director at TensaX Innovation Lab. And today I am joined by Dr. Vishu Gupta from our team. And Dr. Vishu Gupta, over to you.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here today. I'm Dr. Vishnu Gupta. I'm the Head of Research and Academics at TensaX Innovation Lab. And it's really, going to be a fun and interactive session that we're going to have today on artificial intelligence and how it's important for career growth and for startups, right? So during the presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box, and we'll get to them as we get a little towards the end of our presentation. So first, we'll have a discussion on what AI is, how it can be integrated into startups, and basically after that, we'll have our question and answer session. So back to you, Aryan.
Coming back to the presentation, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So first topic of today, what is artificial intelligence? Now, what is artificial intelligence? It's made of, this word is two words, artificial and intelligence. We have, so as a first thing, we have a short video for you to give you certain examples and to show you, give you some context of what we're talking about.
Everyone is talking about artificial intelligence today, but what is it?
Was the audio audible from the video?
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone is talking about artificial intelligence today, but what is it? How and when is it going to have an impact in our lives? Artificial intelligence, or AI for short, is a branch of computer science. It deals with the stimulation of intelligent behavior in computers. AI is a suite of technologies where machines automatically learn and adapt to a specific environment. Artificial intelligence is playing a major role in industry, businesses, society, and even in our everyday lives. From deep learning to natural language processing, we interact with AI in one way or another on a daily basis, sometimes without realizing we are doing it. Robots can now take on many of the most repetitive jobs performed by humans with more accuracy and much faster. But robots are not the only ones with embedded AI. AI will let humans switch to more skillful and better jobs. It only requires some training in new skills. But isn't life a constant learning process after all? Humans will be able to work less hours, having more free time to enjoy life, family, hobbies, and friends. Consumer examples of AI today: Amazon's Alexa and Samsung's Bixby, responding to voice command. Netflix, recommending programs based on the user's viewing history and preferences. Business examples of AI today: virtual assistants for responsive customer service, machine learning algorithms for better analysis of business performance, smart robotics for more efficient supply chains. Today, these simple and early examples of AI belong to what we now call narrow AI. Narrow AI are systems designed by humans to carry out specific tasks. In the future, data growth, greater computational power, 5G networks, increasingly mature cloud platforms, and more sophisticated software will move AI to the next level. General AI. Let's have a look at some facts. AI market is projected to reach 70 billion by 2020. AI is going to have a transformative effect on consumers, enterprises, and governments in the near future. AI is going to impact our lives in an unimaginable way. Nearly 8 in 10 leading CIOs, CTOs, and heads of IT agree that AI will have a transformative impact on their organization over the next 3 to 5 years. For 54% of business leaders, the primary aim of deploying AI is to free staff for higher value work. 65% of business leaders today are considering or piloting AI projects. It will take 3 to 5 years for those AI projects to become a reality. It means there is enough time to learn new skills and be ready for 2024. The global AI market is forecast to reach a valuation of over 3 trillion by 2024. But before that happens, there is plenty we have to learn before we can co-live and co-work with AI.
We're using artificial intelligence in every aspect of our day-to-day life, like talking to Siri, Alexa, Google Home, facial recognition of smartphones, YouTube, social media, and Amazon recommendation. All right, coming back to the presentation, we come back to the word artificial intelligence. So intelligence is the mind and its ability to make decisions for a being to be aware of its environment, able to make decisions in whatever circumstances it is put in, and its ability to learn, reason, apply the learned data points, and use it for any productive action. Artificial intelligence is the ability of machines to do the same. Today, we're in the age of narrow AI, so we're having models which are either good with sensing something from a camera image, like recognizing objects within an image, or recognizing videos, or recognizing sound from audio files or live microphone transcripts, or any type of sensory data from a bunch of machines or a factory machine, or AI which is good in one narrow domain. And we'll go further into how those models work. So when we say artificial intelligence, like robotic images or something of the future might come to your mind, but actually you're already using artificial intelligence in your everyday life. Everyone's using Google search. Google search is indexing thousands and millions of articles every day. It's using machine learning to contextually rank everything and then show you the best results. We're using speech models when it comes to Siri, Alexa, others. Self-driving cars are around us. Social media is all based on machine learning, artificial intelligence algorithms for recognizing the content, then recommending that content. There's Translate, and all of the products, technological products that we use every day, they incorporate machine learning and artificial intelligence in some form or the other. Now, imagine a world where all of the struggles that we currently have when it comes to our sustenance are taken care of by artificial intelligence. And we live in a world where rather than scarcity of survival, all of those basic tasks are taken care of by artificial intelligence models. And we are left to do more creative tasks, or rather we can define our own roles. And the roles that we choose to take up could be much better than mundane or repetitive tasks that we currently have to do as a matter of the result of the current system, which is set up in a way that we have to trade our time in order to make a sustenance. So artificial intelligence is already being used in a number of products that we use even today. So all of the online services we use, whether it's Amazon, Netflix, these are using recommendation engines, which basically determine what you're going to see on the homepage and what you're going to be recommended. So these are the consumer applications that we interact with every day. Next, there are platforms and APIs onto which these AI models are loaded, which are these ones over here. And then behind even this layer, there are frameworks, libraries, programming frameworks, programming toolkits that we use to make these AI models, and then eventually which trickle down to making the whole infrastructure that AI models run on, and then AI-based products or AI-enriched products are rolled out, and then we use them. So AI has already made its entry into almost every single sector, and then a bunch of companies have been using artificial intelligence for some time. And this trend is only going to grow. We're going to see more and more names. So we make technology to make our lives easier. We make technology to help people. And artificial intelligence is one of the most powerful and potent technologies when it comes to making that. Artificial intelligence has its applications in different sectors. So it's not just a technology which stays within itself. All technologies apply to different factors of our everyday life. And then that symbiotic relationship of technology doing something in that particular sector, that makes our life easier. And that's the goal of inventing technology. Us human beings have been inventing technology for thousands of years. Housing, agriculture, water lines, everything is a technology. All of the tools that we use every day, these are technologies. Someone sat behind it, thought about it, figured it out, made it, and that has become a technology that we use every single day. And artificial intelligence is the next range of technology, which is going to bring a lot of value to us or help us in n number of ways. So I'm going to go a little bit over how artificial intelligence adds value in any company or a startup. So number one, AI adds value to the customer experience. So it introduces, or we can introduce new features that is powered by the data that we are collecting, which can give the customer a personalized experience. Number two, a better communication experience. We have conversational AI, and we are going to have AI which is as natural to humans when it comes to talking. Next, we can have AI avatars. So AI is not just a single bot that sits on the side and the users have to do the whole work by themselves. Imagine this, that you have to book your flight tickets, but rather than you putting in the work, your devices put in the work for you. AI can give us that functionality, and we, along with other AI companies, we're building all of that. And so imagine, rather than using technology or you putting in the work to use the technology, like you making taps on the screen of your phone or making clicks, there are AI models which do that for you, give you suggestions and then make your work easier. So, all of the online or all of the technological experiences can be greatly enhanced by using AI avatars. You can have AI assisted product guidance. You can have it in the real world using robots, or you can have it in the virtual world using virtual bots. You can have document intelligence, all of the document related tasks. Humans are employed to basically mass digitize, and then from digitized work to reproduce that on paper. That can be taken care of by artificial intelligence. So we believe in making the artificial intelligence models which don't kill the jobs of human beings, rather empower humans to be more productive. So there's a big difference between that. So presently, who's going to bear the decisions of what the decisions the AI model makes? We think that we should have the human in place, but we should have the human powered by AI models, almost like you walk into to different points, or you're walking kilometers every day, and that's your desk job, versus you getting to use a car or an airplane. So when you use tools like that, people's work lives can be enriched, and the whole turnaround times can be faster. It could be a much better experience for the customers, and the whole thing can become more human to human. And that's the goal behind building this next generation of technology, which is artificial intelligence. So number one is customer experience. Number two is workflow. So when you introduce artificial intelligence to your workflow, you can change the nature of work. So you have new features for your customers, and your customers are going to enjoy those new features that you have by using artificial intelligence, because the new behavior that they're interacting with is easier than the previous behavior, so they're going to switch on to that. Now, for your team, for your business, artificial intelligence can change the nature of work. It can take care of repeated processes. When it comes to the tools that we have to do that, we have computer vision. Everything that's visible to a camera, we can have AI assist in that. We can have natural language models understanding human language and then taking care of tasks. And then we can have machine intelligence for all the data that we're generating from using our things, because everything today now is digital, and even the things which are analog, we can use sensors, cameras, microphones, and AI models can interact there as well. So for all of the things that we are doing, all of the actions, we can use machine intelligence, and then these can have an added level of value provided to the team members as well as the users of whatever commodity it is. Data insights. So when you run AI models for a particular period of time, you get data, or when you have data within your system and you've built systems where you can have those avenues, when you can integrate machine learning, when you run these models for some time, you can then get patterns from them. So patterns related to how people are using your commodity, or how people are using the work or services provided by your organization. When you do that over a period of time, you get from this new data, you can make new connections. So our knowledge is our data points in our heads. And then when we connect those data points, those become insights and ideas. And then those become the next thing that we can execute. So here we can cluster and identify different patterns, and then we can have that, we can do feature extraction, and then that's how we come up with new features. Let's say let's take an example of restaurant. People, when they digitize their whole process, they're using AI in their interaction. Whatever people are saying to that AI, or they're noticing that people like this particular item at 5 p.m., for example, then they can introduce new kinds of different services and products for the betterment of the people that they're serving. So these are the kind of insights that AI can get us. And there are three levels of artificial intelligence. Presently, we are in artificial narrow intelligence, which means AI models are specialized in one single area, and these AI models can do one single task well. So these could be driving a car, this could be talking to someone, this could be recognizing a document. So it can do that, but it's narrow-minded, and it can do that in one specialized area. And what we'll get to in a few years is artificial general intelligence, where AI models, the distinction is AI models can teach themselves, and it's almost indistinguishable put next to a human being. So you can tell it to learn something, and it could understand you and learn something on its own by going through the internet, and basically serve you as a friend, or like a really obedient servant, and do things for you. That's coming up later. And the third stage is artificial super intelligence, where I don't believe that AI models can be sentient or conscious, because whatever they do, they would draw energy from the physical plane, whereas we took birth, and we are kind of beyond this, like it wasn't in our control. So artificial intelligence, when they are aware of their own existence, that is artificial super intelligence. And by then, I am very hopeful that we gain so much in human beings, gain so much in consciousness, that they're able to control that, and control and create worlds, and make more harmony within life forms. Coming back to where we were, this is where we are. These two are work in progress, and we are making artificial intelligence for the betterment of people's lives. And that's the primary goal behind making this. And what are the sort of skills that AI has today, and how does it use those skills to help people today? So presently, AI can understand your inputs, whether it's coming from cameras, or it's language based. Then AI can search and recapitulate from the data that it's been trained on, and then AI can suggest you something or perform a task. You might have heard these terms, and these are artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, machine learning. So this is how it looks. So you have artificial intelligence, which is kind of like a superset of machine learning and deep learning. And then artificial intelligence use machine learning as artificial intelligence models they are powered by machine learning. So the difference is, when you can't code thousands of rules, you prepare a data set, and then you label that data set, and then you know how you teach a child to recognize something, like how you teach a small child, okay, this is a marker, this is a board, this is a water bottle. And then when you show the child enough number of times, the child learns their patterns. So you can't really do if else for everything. So you show the AI model some data and label data, and then you have your model which learns those patterns of those data points. And so AI is powered by machine learning and then deep learning. And when these models get so large, when they're being trained on terabytes of data and they have thousands of layers, that subset is called deep learning. And data science, because we're learning from data, we incorporate the principles of data science within artificial intelligence. But data science can go, can be used for making presentations and other things like that, which doesn't deal with artificial intelligence. So it exists on its own as well. Growth of artificial intelligence. We've been seeing that artificial intelligence has been growing in every single field that is imaginable or exists in the physical world. And as a result of that, we've been seeing that since 2014, there's been great amount of funding for AI based products, just because of how much value it introduces to how much easier it makes life for people when it comes to using the new technology that it's integrated in. Even in 2020, AI investment didn't really stop, and most of the companies retained their AI investments. And after 2020, these AI investments have been going up. So when you can't employ people to serve all the time, you can have these AI models which are there helping humans and catering to more and more people, and they can be up 24/7. And on that same note, the AI market size has been projected to grow exponentially. The future of artificial intelligence is in a variety of sectors, and it adds value to all of these many sectors, as you can see on these graphs over here. Now, we've seen this growth in artificial intelligence. Now, if we question why AI adoption has been increasing, and I think the primary motive is us human beings, humankind, we've been making technology to make our lives easier. And for the last few thousand years, we have a system of economy, and economy benefits that which is more efficient. So if you invent something which is better than the last product, that's going to uh, increase its market share, and which means that the technology that we keep inventing to make our lives easier, uh, that's the same reason why we are making artificial intelligence, to help more people. But why has AI, but why now is the question, or why AI has been growing for the recent few years, and now, and why we're saying that now's the time that it would keep on growing. So there are three reasons. Number one, algorithms. People have been conducting a lot of research and experimentation, trying to make new products and new avenues, and then they ended up making these algorithms which can do a lot more. Like today we have algorithms which can understand human expressions, human language, which can understand a number of data points and then make sense out of it. So we have these new algorithms. We are able to make these new algorithms because when everything went digital, we have all of this data. So like we have our five senses, we are having the sixth sense, which is data, which is being collected of every single thing that's happening. And then this can be used to help people. Like, for example, a patient's medical records, that's the sixth sense information about the patient. When you analyze that over a period of time, and an AI is deployed to understand that, new models can be made which help the patient maintain better health, or help millions of patients maintain better health when we recognize patterns from that. The third thing is computational power. So I'll share a simple example. When people sent people to the moon in 1969, they had as much computational power as a calculator, which we use in high school. In contrast to how much computational power we have right now, that's millions of times more than what we had back then. So we have more computing power, which can host data, as well as these new and big algorithms, which are able to do so much more. So these three in conjunction is the reason why we have artificial intelligence growing in its adoption recently. AI already has been there in our everyday life. On the big tech companies that we use and interact with every day, and the products that we use every day, they have these features built in. There's been a huge growth in AI startup funding. These are the venture capital deals of artificial intelligence startups, whether they have AI as a feature or their product is AI first itself. So as we can see, these graphs have been projected upwards, and that's the trend because of how much value it brings. And if we see even sector by sector, AI has or brings a lot of value. Growth in AI startups. We've seen that the revenues of the applications which are using artificial intelligence, like a simple example, like you can't index thousands of articles without using machine learning or artificial intelligence models. So Google or these big companies, they're using artificial intelligence models, as well as a much smaller company compared to Google, which is ours. We've been building different AI models. We've been helping startups, and we've been into the AI space for 5 years, and we've noticed how putting in these models adds value, and how much it can, like, even when it comes to like the experience it could bring for the users, and to the new features it can bring to the users, as well as how much easier it can make to operate the business. The applications are numerous. And the jobs for artificial intelligence, that also has been on the rise. Job postings have been going up. Uh, there's been growth in every single sector. Artificial intelligence roles are one of the highest paid. So AI engineers are one of the highest paid engineers globally right now. And that's the case all over the globe right now. So we have been building AI since 2017. And we've helped a number of companies, organizations, startups, even nonprofits build artificial intelligence and help more people. So we have our AI hub where we have our repository of AI models, and people can build AI models with us. And then we have AI Academy, where we bring awareness about artificial intelligence, and we do corporate training programs or educational programs or career development programs where we talk about how AI brings value to their particular sector and how they can learn programming and learn artificial intelligence along with our team of instructors. So we have a separate division where we have instructors which are training live one-on-one. And then sometimes our developers come along and they show how these models are built or the frameworks which are used, and we do demos, etc. So we started artificial intelligence around 2017. So I was attending a program at Stanford University, and I noticed that like a few people were making machine learning models which could be useful for at that time, which could be useful for consumer applications or just helping people in general. And I was actually quite fascinated about that. So when I was there, I started learning about it, and then we started making our first models. And so we have a connect with Silicon Valley. We have an office in San Francisco. We have a marketing office in Dubai, UAE as well. So I was just there 4 days ago. And so I was in our office at San Francisco, and we've been noticing that a lot of companies in the valley are incorporating machine learning models, and that is to happen because it's the next best thing. So in 2018, I was at MIT. I was attending a program at the Computer Science and AI Laboratory at MIT, and I noticed that they were updating their courses every 3 months. And artificial intelligence is so new that every 2 weeks a new paper comes up, and then presently industry is at par with academia, if not ahead, when it comes to research and making new models. And that's been the trend with artificial intelligence. Then when it comes to startups, I was at Delta V. That's where I got, so these were the early, so this was in 2018 and the early days of the first, it had been just 1.5 years of TensaX. So I connected with the name, which is Delta V. So this is me at the program. So Delta V is an interesting phenomenon because that's the delta in value that the new startup is bringing. So that determines the success of a startup. So we've been helping a number of companies build AI models. So this is our AI hub. We have a number of models. So we have one of the world's highest performing facial expression recognition models. We have our own conversational AI agent known as Info. We've been working in the fields of healthcare and medical imaging and just patient intelligence. We have document intelligence, and then computer vision, natural language, and machine intelligence models. So these are a few glimpses from our office. And with you here, we're working to spread artificial intelligence education. So we have for you AI programs that you could take, and you could collaborate with us to learn more about the AI applications within your sector. And then if you're interested, we have programs teaching you how to actually build these AI models. So we also have, as a parallel division, we also have an incubation center. So for all the startups who are in the early stages, we can help you build your technology. And we have SoftBank as our mentor partners. And so we're going to be having more and more startups being enrolled for our program. So we can help you with seed funding and help you build your technology, and then have you be mentored by SoftBank. If you apply with us and you get selected, this is what we have in store for you. So coming back to AI education and how basically AI is important for startups, I'll share this. So the success of any new startup, in all of the startups that we've worked with in our 5 years, we've seen that if the new product that they're introducing, so the new behavior with the new startup versus the old behavior. So I'll share an example. Uber versus the old taxi service, like you had to go to the street and get a taxi or call them and then it would show up and it was expensive, versus Uber or Lyft. You see, if people were to rate the new behavior versus the old behavior out of 10, like maybe they would rate the old behavior versus the new behavior. The old behavior, they rated at 5, like it was kind of cumbersome, cabs weren't available everywhere, like you had to go to, like you could only get it in cities, and then it was expensive, and then you'd have to ask the cab driver whether the person would go there or not. They could also refuse you. So the new behavior Uber, you just make 3 taps on your phone and you can go there. So if the previous behavior was 5 out of 10, the new behavior could be like 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. So when you have a higher delta V, your product is more likely going to success. So when you have these new models, so even Uber is using machine learning for all of the processes that they have within the operation of Uber. Now, so when you build these features, the delta V of your company goes up. So the new behavior that you introduce with your company or your app or your service, whatever it is, the goal is the customers should rate the experience higher than the next best alternative. So when you have that, you're more likely to make it a success. So artificial intelligence is labeled as the 4th industrial revolution. So we had mechanization and factories, mass production, then we had computers and then the internet. Now the thing is, we still have to operate everything. AI can operate all of this for us. Like we have to use our mind to basically work our machines. AI will work our machines for us, and that's why AI is important. With AI, the concept of UBI also comes. We believe that we should make AI, and so we've only been and increasingly actively been working with companies which are incorporating AI, which enhances the life of people and gets people to basically do more humanly jobs. So AI is what's coming up. Even if you talk of the jobs landscape, AI is going to create more jobs than it's going to take. It's the same thing as typewriters versus computers. So if they had protested against computers, we wouldn't have so many jobs that we have today, and we can't even see what it's going to bring and how much is going to change the nature of the jobs that are there to make them more human friendly. So everything included is going to create more jobs than it's going to take. We want to build, and we are imparting human first or human oriented artificial intelligence. AI has been growing in almost every single sector. So in healthcare, it can bring, now I'll go over a little bit over sector. We only have 1 hour, but if you are coming from any of these sectors and would love to collaborate with us and learn about these sectors, and where we can tell you how it adds value, or you would like to participate in a discussion, you can reach out to us, sign up for our programs, or just reach out to us, and then we'll figure out what's best for you. So when it comes to healthcare, there could be personalized medicine, personalized treatment when it comes to diagnostics and taking care of the patient, reminders, connecting with the doctors, having AI avatars take care of all of that. Computer vision, making search engines which bring up relevant cases, because these AI models can recognize patterns. So if you, let's say, go up for an MRI scan, and then you have this AI search engine which pulls up a case let's say from 7 years ago, which has a similar condition, and then the patterns that it followed, there are a lot of values that it can bring, and with which it can save a person's life. So workflow. It can automate digitization, form filling, a lot of these things, so that hospital processing can be faster. And then it can have, there are a lot of applications in genomics, which hasn't been explored just yet. You can have mobile apps which are automated and used, or AI agents which guide you through mobile apps and make the whole experience easier for you, and so many applications. And it's able to do that because AI models can do disease prediction, it can help in disease classification, it can recognize patterns, it can automate different processes, and then with all of this, it can give a more personalized healthcare experience. And also something which is new, presently we only go to doctors when something goes horribly wrong. AI can look at your data points and then help you prevent that, because it's kind of like a doctor which could be installed in your phone as an application. You have transportation, self-driving cars, the whole transport grid, making sure that there's no traffic, cars don't bump into each other, a lot of different in ways where roads could be made safer without congestions, making sure that people are transiting in the most optimal way. In retail, customer experience, customer feedback, a lot of different applications. When it comes to business and manufacturing, there are robotic process automation, as well as understanding customer feedback better to recognize what to make at what time. There's workflow automation, document intelligence, recognizing documents and then summarizing them for better office workflow. So these are some of the models that we made. You can see us over here. And then language models, helping people communicate better with each other, or scheduling things, talking to customers anytime, talking to all of the customers at the same time, giving them a better experience. For market feedback survey, human emotion expression analysis. So this is one of the models that we made. So this is Sonato. It can look at your facial expressions. It's completely anonymous, doesn't do facial recognition. It works on facial expressions, and then everything that people are saying in an anonymous fashion, it can give you whether people are positive or negative about something. So in short, AI is going to be there in every single field, and to learn about these fields and to talk to us about it, we've been building these models for quite some time. You can collaborate with us. So now as we get into machine learning, the building block of artificial intelligence, and the first step is you have to think like a scientist. So you have to identify the problem, and then like a mathematician, you have to identify all the different variables that affect the problem. You have to then identify all the different variables that it depends on. So in order for us to be able to do that, we collaborate with field expertise. So we know how to make ML models, and then we collaborate with the doctor who's been treating patients for 25, 30 years. So the doctor knows the different loopholes and all the variables that the diagnostics depend upon. Then we collect data, and then we start refining the ideology. Many a times, like a startup, and likewise with making an AI model, we have to pivot. So we have to sometimes look at different features. Sometimes the real data doesn't, or the real outcomes don't depend on the data that we have collected. So we have to rethink, rebuild. Then we prototype, and then when we have that, we put it into an app. We build connected with the user interface. Then we test it, and then marketing and sales. So in action, how does machine learning go from design to development to deployment? So number one is data. So data basically is knowledge. So data is like if everything is a fruit, or like the data is what's the fruit, was the juice inside the fruit, and then we can take it out and then make something with it, so you have primary data and secondary data. Primary data is what you collect yourself. Secondary data you can collect from somewhere else or the internet. Where do you get these data? You can get them online, or you can do surveys, or you can collect data, or like take pictures, get volunteers. There are also websites where you can get data from. You can pull data from Google Images. You have government websites with shared databases, and you have websites and blogs. You can web scrap that. So here are a few websites. You have Kaggle. You can get images from Google. You have government data portals, and then you can do web scraping, or you can generate data. Now, when it comes to playing with the data, you have to make sure that it represents the use case, or it represents the people that it's going to interact with. And it's actually quite important, so that you may come up with a model which is useful and does something on the positive end or a productive end. So data visualization. We do data visualization for the engineering of new features. So that we can identify patterns, find outliers, find influencing factors, and determine priority areas, so that we can start to engineer features and start to make machine learning models which can learn these features and then can be put into a customer application. So these are the few factors that influence what kind of strategy you're going to use to visualize your data, so that you can do feature engineering. Here are some of the tools that we use. We use Tableau, Matplotlib, Plotly, etc., as well as a few other libraries to, if it's medical data, then there are going to be different libraries and so on. So Matplotlib, Plotly, and so they give us these sort of tools. So when we have a lot of data, let's say it could be like speech data or customer feedback data, or it could be anything, we visualize them and then create features. So when let's talk of Instagram, all of the post data, they create features out of that. Like they make these recommendations, which then make it a more usable experience. So then that's how we do feature engineering. A few of the strategies we use batch normalization, standardization, basically getting the data on the same scale, so that a model can start to learn it. We use data augmentation. We can generate more data from existing data. We can do feature extraction, or cutting off of additional features that we don't need. And then we can do generative training. We can generate more training data based on the existing data we have. Now, if we explain machine learning and like what it is in its backend, it is actually mathematics. You might have seen this. So these are neural networks. So these are very much the neurons we have in our mind. And when we have these networks, they're basically mimicking the mind. So you know how the mind can learn habits? Like, you can learn to play baseball if you play it for a number of times, you're basically learning that pattern. That is what we are doing with AI models or machine learning models. So each of these single dots, they are perceptrons. So they take the input of the last layer, and then they have this thing called weight, which is like, you can just say that it multiplies within these perceptrons, and then we can adjust the value of these dots, which are these weights. And our goal is, when, let's say, an image, what an image is? Image is just an array. It's like, it's an arrangement of pixel values. When the image, okay, so you have your image, when it multiplies through the model, if it has the object that it was looking for, it should result a higher number. And that is it. And that's how, in training, we provide this labeled data set, and then we iterate over and over and over and over in order to adjust the value of these weights. So the end goal is, when the real data passes through the model, it performs like so. So you can, right now, you can consider AI models to be a series of sequential multiplications. So you have data, when you multiply it through the model, you should get the right result. So in its backend, it's mathematics. So I'll share a very simple example of how that is there. So if you multiply an image of the character 0 through this, you would get a high result. So plus is positive values, minus is negative values. And that's how these AI models can actually learn these different features. Same with all the different kinds of data, whether it's a camera image or an MRI image, you have the similar way of learning. So these types of models are used in computer vision. And then when we train them, so the thing is, we can't, like, it's impossible to make if-else rules. So that used to be traditional programming. We can't make thousands of rules for recognizing every single line. So we give it a data set, and then that data set has thousands of images, and then this model, this arrangement of dots, when we pass it through, it learns these weights, and then that's how these weights look. And when the data gets multiplied, it's called when it's being served, it's called inference. When it's being multiplied, you get the right result. So that's when your model is trained. So when you train them, you can have like any arrangement of these values, and when the best possible arrangement is reached, that has the lowest loss and is the most efficient way, and that's when we say our AI is trained. So these models are not just small, they can be very large. So this is Google's Inception 3 model, which they use in Google Photos. So as you can see, each of these different dots, they have multiple layers within themselves. So it's a very large model. So when it comes to machine learning, you have supervised learning, which means you give it a data set and then it learns from that data set. And you have unsupervised learning, which means you don't give it a data set and just make sense on its own, which could be like you talk to a chatbot and you say it's something outlandish, which it hasn't encountered before. So it still has to make sense of it. So it has certain strategies and principles that we code into that machine learning model, which it uses to interact with you. Then we have reinforcement learning, which is used in like video games and how video game AI is trained, as well as like when it comes to factory equipments and machine to machine stuff, reinforcement learning is used. And then you have ensemble learning, which basically, if you combine the above three, you get ensemble learning. And then you have neural networks. Basically, you can mimic the mind. So these are the few building blocks. So you can basically do regression, which means you can predict, or you can cluster, which means you can group similar things together, or you can classify. So these are the three building blocks. These are the three, building materials. Like, you can build an entire wall from bricks. You can use these three simple building blocks to make any complex machine learning model. A few of the terminologies, so in order to train these models, we split. We use a certain number of amount of data for training and certain amount of data for evaluation of training from this data. This is how it looks. So we have these different categories of machine learning. You have supervised, you have labeled data and supervised, unlabeled data or uncertainty and unsupervised, like a speech or a phrase which hasn't been said before. Example of supervised is a medical image, and the model has seen thousands of medical images similar to the medical images been shown. Semi-supervised, mixture of both the two. Reinforcement learning, here you have like multiple AI agents, and it's kind of like evolution. So you keep the ones which are performing well and you remove the ones which are not. And over the period of time, you get an agent which is very suited to that environment, and then you can use its policies. Machine learning techniques, these are the three building blocks of machine learning models. You have classification, you classify something, you can cluster something based on its properties, and then you can do regression and prediction of values. So with these three building blocks, you can make any complex AI model. There are n number of use cases: spam email, machine translation, many we are already using in our day-to-day life. So we saw an example of computer vision. There's natural language. So these models can understand human language. There are three main terminologies: natural language processing, natural language understanding, and natural language generation. So there are these language models which can take care of that. And then using those language models, we can make chatbots and AI agents which can help us, serve us. Another term that I'd like to brush upon is big data. What is this big data term that we've been talking about? Another thing is all of the, so if you talk of Google, we're collecting so much data. Google is collecting so much data about everyone that it's impossible to store in one single data center or process on one single computer. So they're using these frameworks and running it in a distributed manner, and that's big data. And then they're doing the same feature engineering out of that and then making a lot of things. Now, what are the tools we use? I'll just go over the names. We use TensorFlow, PyTorch, CNTK. You might have seen these logos somewhere. So these are the frameworks that we use to build all of these philosophies and program all of these philosophies and then embed it into a machine system. Deployment. You can either deploy on mobile or you can deploy on cloud. So you can have cloud computing, and then you can containerize and then put it on the cloud. We have been partnering with Google Cloud. So with us, we can show you how all these things, and you can collaborate with us to learn these technologies or incorporate these technologies. And then AI has its applications in a variety of sectors. And then the revenue from companies incorporating AI has been on the rise. I'll also go over a few case studies. So just because we're short on time, I'll just go quickly over them. So in healthcare, you can have AI in diagnosis, personalized medicine, drug discovery. It's been one of the biggest use cases. And then patient-centric personalized experience apps. In your office, you can have document automation, personal assistants, AI avatars doing your work for you, process automation. For your home, you can have robotic process automation, household work being taken care of by artificial intelligence. So these are few of the industries TensaX has been dealing in. Some we've worked with the respective organizations and build models. Some we have just ideated or in an ideation stage right now, and I'll just go over them. Next is fintech and banking. You have anomaly detection, you have investment algorithms, you have models you can talk to and get guidance. Education, personalized education, AI answering students' questions, AI answering or checking students' exam copies. Human emotion, one of the models that we've pioneered. Human emotion AI, AI recognizing human emotion, attention, facial expressions, body language. Fashion, clothes try on, like putting clothes on top of your body, recommending you clothes, style transfer, recommendations. Social intelligence, conversational AI, chatbots, uh, AI for self-governance. When it comes to governance itself, office work automation, document intelligence, work monitoring. When it comes to transport, self-driving car, transport grid automation, AI avatars guiding people, road safety stuff, computer vision, and in-vehicle AI for better transport experience. Real estate, automated valuation models for automated price prediction. We've done that with a valuation company. Conversational AI, AI talking to people, factory and RPA, that's more robotic, reinforcement learning, automated operation of machines, energy and power. So when it comes to sun harvesting, these concentrated solar panels, they use machine learning to change the direction of these pointy mirrors so they can concentrate energy better. And then power grid, the distribution of energy in different sectors can be moderated by AI so that it's the best way possible. Agriculture, computer vision segmentation, and then identification of crop diseases, and then identification of plants and vegetables on the conveyor belt when we're harvesting in agriculture, and AI vision applications. There are many in AI in agriculture. Food tech, recommendation of fruits, customer feedback, emotions, and just when it comes to shopping or food, making sure that everything is in check, automated buying, customer feedback. When it comes to security and defense, there is tagging, AI running in security cameras and in defense systems, recognizing objects, actions, intentions. We made one project called Real Life Search Engine. I'd like to talk about it sometime later. AI-based camouflages based on environments. We worked on some of these. When it comes to blockchain, blockchain bridges trust for us. So n number of parties can coordinate on something. So blockchain along with AI can make sure that people agree on that AI's classification, and then solve the problem of trust within different nodes of an AI system. So that it has many interesting applications coming in the future. When it comes to space, you can have ephemeris, which is AI powered. So ephemeris is tracking how different celestial bodies are moving and where. So even right now, like you can predict what time the sun will rise 25 years down the line. So those algorithms are called ephemeris, and you can use AI to do ephemeris for n number of celestial objects, and then have a better understanding of time itself. So a lot of AI vision capabilities as well. And then humanitarian uses for NGOs, AI which can help people distribute goods within themselves, or do something for people in a remote area, and those sort of things. So AI has different applications, and we have AI programs for you to learn, and we can help you, tell you more about artificial intelligence, or we can collaborate together to build artificial intelligence. And we'd love to have you be a part with us. So these are a few of our programs. When it comes to AI education in learning how to build these technologies, we can teach you. So this is a division that we have in our office. We have 28 engineers, and then we have 5 instructors. And these people can tell you, so our instructor teams can tell you how to build technology, and they can tell you how to program, how to build these AI models, how to use these frameworks. And then our developers can from time to time teach you how to how these things are built. And this is for you, your kids, your friends. Uh, so we have 2 PhD candidates at our AI Academy, as well as we have an 11-year-old. So we've had students from a variety of schools and colleges, mostly colleges. We've had, when it comes to the US, we've had students from the University of Rochester. We've had students from the University of Arizona, and Dr. Vishu Hills from University of Idaho. And when it comes to schools, variety of schools. So yeah, so this is a hint of the pricing that we have for it. And other than that, we love to collaborate with you for our AI programs. And we would love to talk to you and talk about AI applications in your sector. So we have one of our offices in India, and then we have a marketing office in San Francisco. I was just there in San Francisco 4 days ago, and I had to come to our India office to get some work done. And I'll be back in San Francisco. For all the people who are in San Francisco, I'd love to catch up with you and talk to you. And we have another office in Dubai, UAE. Now it's the time for question and answers. Please.
Actually,
Yeah, Vishuji.
yeah. So now during the session, you've kind of heard, it's a lot of information on how artificial intelligence can be such a great thing for us. So like Aryan mentioned, I'm actually like I've used AI for a lot of the engineering work that I do. As he mentioned, I've done my bachelor's and master's in electrical engineering from University of Idaho. And the cool thing is that this kind of technology actually helps every branch of technology. It's not really just about, one aspect that or one type of engineering that actually benefits from it. It's essentially everything. So if you're an electrical engineer, you're going to see applications of this in energy, in power generation, in power quality control. You're going to see this in signals. You already see this in signals and processing in every single aspect, right? Then it comes to transportation, structural engineering. There's a lot that we can do with artificial intelligence. Now, what Arden was talking about, in terms of different courses, and we've had a great time with a lot of people that join us to learn about this technology with us, and kind of take a step-by-step approach to gain an insight on how this can be utilized for them on a personal level, to kind of boost their career, or to kind of boost their business, to boost their own startup. So we do have people who are learning with us that are starting at the age of 11. And then we also have people with us who are getting programs collaborated with us, where we offer training for their business teams, for small groups of teams, to kind of see how artificial intelligence can be integrated for their everyday work, or for their technology development in general. So yeah, I guess we should probably move on to the Q&A section. We do have a couple of questions. So if at this time you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A box, and we'll get to them one by one. So the first question that we have, Aryan, is that all of the ways...
I'll answer the questions. All of the ways you mentioned AI can help, user experience, etc. Does that relate to startups as well? Actually, I would say that it relates to startups more so than it relates to large companies, because when you get to compete with a larger company, your experience has to be better than the previous alternative. So Uber was a startup, but it was fighting against all of these large taxi corporations, which has been around for so many years. And these corporations were huge. Now, the way they were able to surpass them was because of their technology, because how much better their experience was compared to the old behavior. So you have to invent or come up with new ways of solving problems, collaborate with technology so that your product is better than the large competitor, so that you can overtake them, and so that you can start to gain market share. And then when you gain market share, you can become a large company if you so desire. Does that answer your question? All right. Okay. Thank you. So next, another one from Jack. You mentioned data bias. How does that come into play when we are looking at insights for our business? Does AI take care of the bias? When it comes to, so presently we're in the age of narrow AI. It means that it's not as smart as humans. So if you basically, so this is one thing that happened with Amazon. They were making like a resume sorter. And the thing is they had, their data had more applications from male applicants. So it ended up being biased against female applicants. So, you know, right now you have to be smart about the data that you're using, the models that you're building, the people that you're working with. They should know their things so that you build good models. And when we'll get to artificial general intelligence, that's when AI would be able to be smart enough to be able to understand the different biases based on people's reactions. Does AI take care of the bias? You can have models which, okay, when you're recognizing faces, you can have another AI model which basically equalizes the brightness within that face. And when you do that, you can have like another model assist in better representation or better brightness equalization of all of the faces within a model. So you can theoretically have that. But does it do that on a large scale right now? Not so much. The current strategy is be aware of the data you're putting in, the model you're building, the experts you're collaborating with, and you'd have a lower probability of having such a bias in your model.
So mainly we can kind of talk about like data pre-processing techniques that kind of highlights maybe the biases that exist within that data.
Yeah. And even when it comes to the selection of the data itself, you know, it should be an idealistic representation of the problem in the real world. And it should have equal representation of all the cases.
So this is where the secondary data resources kind of become really important, right?
Yeah, no matter if it's primary, secondary, but it has to be representative of like the problem at hand, which is why you have to collaborate with field experts and they can tell you these things. Okay. I hope that answers your question. We have more questions. Moving on to the next one. I have a mobile wallet app. How can we use this in finance or customer services? So you can have an AI avatar which guides people through your app experience. So you have to work the app yourself. You can have AI assist people in using of the product, which means you can have suggestions. You can have voice-based interactivity, or you can have card-based interactivity, or you can have like suggestions of repeated payments that the users have been making so that you make it easier for them. Number two, you can do anomaly detection. When you're doing anomaly detection, you can, you know, have them be assured that, or make them aware when any suspicious activity is being detected. Next, you can also, when you have a customer, when you have a wallet app, you can look into AI-based investment applications, because many of the wallet apps, they're having like some sort of money retention, and the money that is put into the bank, they're offering other services. Like many times they're offering credit services as well. When you offer credit services, you can do credit score analysis. It's one of the biggest applications in fintech apps, one that we also ideated and collaborated with. So there's this education fintech startup that we worked with. So you can do credit score analysis. When you can do all of these things from the customer data, you can give them more services. So like you can give them the functionality of credit. And so when it comes to mortgage banking, again, mortgage banking, I have, okay, awesome, Nick, would love to talk to you again. Okay. In mortgage banking, again, I would say just analysis of the customer's profile and credit score analysis, risk analysis of the loan. Also, if you're aggregating the collateral, or you're having other players invest in your banking app, then you can show this to them and then have a better way of allocation of resources, or the allocation of resources could be automated with machine learning. Okay, so we'll talk to you in person. Thank you, Nick. We'll answer the questions. How secure is AI in terms of cybersecurity? Okay, so number one, when the model has little to no bias, it is very good in its home origin, which means it would perform very well by itself. Now, the thing is, AI models need an interface, and those interfaces are our current devices. Maybe in the future, we'll have augmented reality or wearables or whatever we come up with. The thing is, AI is being served through consumer devices, or it's being embedded. When it's being embedded, you can have encryption. When it's being served through devices, when it's on the cloud, you can use encryption. You can use hashing for anonymous entities of data, and that's what you have. And then you can use cybersecurity for protocols and endpoint protection services or endpoint audits on the apps that you are using and putting AI into. So this is what it is. So AI directly isn't, like, when it comes to consumer cybersecurity, AI, that's how cybersecurity is integrated with artificial intelligence. When it comes to AI, adding on to the field of cybersecurity, you can do threat analysis, you can do anomaly detection. That's something that the banks are already using. Banks have been using it for quite some time, actually. So these models are basically, they establish a normal based on all the transactions that are happening. And then when something doesn't evaluate, or its evaluation doesn't match with the existing normal, that's when it's been labeled as an anomaly and your card is automatically blocked or whatever. So it does that in banking. It can also, or people have been working on it. How can it also protect against cybersecurity attacks? And likewise, so you have current cybersecurity systems which use rule-based things. You will soon have AI-based or machine learning-based cybersecurity protocols. People are working on it. Some companies are starting to incorporate it, but still in a very infancy stage. We've been at one of the world's largest cybersecurity conferences in Dubai. We interacted with a few of these. We ideated and brainstormed on a lot of things. So yeah, rather than cybersecurity being rule-based, it will soon be machine learning-based. I hope that answers your question. Thank you. Vishji?
Yeah, I think that was one of our last questions that we had. So in general, when we're talking about artificial intelligence, like our goal today was to kind of highlight how AI becomes important for startups and, careers.
And yeah, and it was lovely to talk to everyone. You can connect with us online via our email or phone number, or you can connect with us through social media. Let me just drop my detail as well as our company's details in the chat, and then we panelists and attendees. So +91. I'll drop in my US number +1. And then LinkedIn.
There is a request for sharing the contact information, the contact slide that we had at the very end. Could you please share that, Arun?
Yes. I'm sharing that.
So we do have one more question, Arun.
And yes.
How can AI bring AI into my consulting and property management companies?
You can have chatbots. That's the easiest or number one thing you can do, because chatbots would allow your customers to talk to you anytime, and like you can have a call taking chatbot or a text based chatbot. Number one. Number two, you should start building some sort of data collection about your customers, so that we can start to build a machine learning model around the usage patterns or needs of your customers. So when we have that being logged into our database, so we actually have our AI hub where you can load all of your data and our engineers would work with you. And so when we have this digitization built in and we start to get this data, we can do feature extraction and then identify patterns of your customers' behavior. When we identify that, the new AI model then can then give you, okay, this is a new customer, this is what they're likely to do, or this is what cumulatively as a whole all your customers are likely to do next month. Or you can get insights like these types of properties are more sold in the time of winter, or these types of properties are more sold in the rainy season, or these types of properties are shown more interest in by 60+ year olds, or these types of properties are more shown in interest by 20 to 30 year olds, and so on. You can, when we have that sort of digitization from the data collection built in, you'll have these many data insights. And later on we can, if you tell us more about your business, we can figure out how or what sort of features you can build into your customer experience, and also what you can use for your workflow. But these are the few, like on the top, or from the top of my head, that I can think of. I'm dropping in my email, and for like specialized questions like this, we would love to talk to you on a private call. And I mean that first call, and like just a consultation call would be free. And if like something makes sense, or like we could build something in collaboration, we'd be down to do that, and we can figure that out over a short call.
So we have another request for the contact info slide on the screen. So if you could just share that and leave that up there, that would, I think, help a lot of people.
I've put it in the chat. Is it there?
Yeah, there's a request for it to be on the screen, so that would really help.
Okay, on the screen.
Yeah.
Share screen. Share. Okay, is it visible?
Sweet. Yeah, that works.
Okay. Lovely to talk to you, everyone. Would love to talk to you again.
Yeah, if you guys have any more questions, you have the contact information on our screen. You also have it in the chat box. And of course, feel free to drop us a message at any time. And yeah, it was great to have you here during our session today, and hope we get to interact very soon.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Look forward to talking to you.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. Have a great day.